Welcome back to Power Rangers Shark Attack, the podcast where we dive deep into the adventures of our favorite ocean protectors. In our last episode, the Rangers discovered their old friend Brandon, who joined their ranks as the Magna Ranger. Tensions and mysteries abound as new alliances form. Join us now as we dive into Episode 7, Sibling Rivalry Part 1. The atmosphere aboard the Megalozord command sub was charged with tension. The return of Brandon had brought new strength to the team, but it had also unearthed old conflicts and emotions. In the main control room, Alvin, Chip, Monica, Henry, Courtney, and Brandon gathered to discuss their next steps. Alvin's usual calm demeanor was strained as he tried to keep the team focused. "We need to find out more about the Predator Ranger," Alvin began. "She's clearly powerful and has a personal vendetta against us." Monica, sitting opposite Alvin, couldn't hide her frustration. "And how exactly do you propose we do that, Alvin? She's been one step ahead of us every time." Alvin's jaw tightened. "We need to stay vigilant and gather any intel we can." Sensing the growing tension between the siblings, tried to steer the conversation back on track. "What about the research vessel that was attacked? Did we recover any data?" Henry nodded. "We managed to secure some files, but they're encrypted. I'll need time to decode them." Monica rolled her eyes. "Great, more waiting." "Enough," Alvin snapped. "We're doing everything we can. Complaining won't help." Monica stood abruptly. "Maybe if you weren't so obsessed with being the hero, we'd get somewhere." The room fell silent as Alvin and Monica glared at each other. Brandon stepped between them. "We can't afford to fight among ourselves. Let's focus on the mission." Monica stormed out of the room, and Brandon followed her. Chip exchanged a worried glance with Henry and Courtney. "We need to keep it together," he said quietly, "for everyone's sake." Later, in the quiet of the observation deck, Monica stared out at the ocean. Brandon approached her cautiously. "Monica, we need to talk." She sighed, wiping a tear from her cheek. "I know, it's just so much has happened, and now you're back, and it's like everything's different." Brandon took her hand gently. "We'll figure it out together, but right now, Alvin needs our support." Monica nodded reluctantly. "You're right, I just wish things could go back to the way they were." Before they could say more, the alarm sounded. "Rangers, we've detected a large energy signature approaching the base." Henry's voice crackled over the intercom. Monica and Brandon rushed to the control room, where the team was already gearing up. "What's the situation?" Alvin asked. Henry pointed to the screen. "It's the Predator Ranger. She's heading straight for us." "Let's move out," Alvin commanded. The Rangers suited up and exited the Megalozord command sub, ready for battle. The Predator Ranger stood atop a rocky outcrop, her dark armor gleaming. "So, you've come to face me," she taunted. "This time, you won't escape." "Why are you doing this?" Chip demanded, stepping forward. The Predator Ranger's eyes narrowed. "You'll find out soon enough," she replied, launching herself at the Rangers with lightning speed. The battle was fierce and chaotic. Chip faced off against the Predator Ranger, their weapons clashing in a flurry of sparks. "Ride the Riptide," he shouted, and the others echoed his call, transforming into their Ranger forms. Henry and Courtney fought side by side, their bond strengthening with each strike. "Stay close, Courtney," Henry said, deflecting a blow. "We've got this." Courtney nodded, determination in her eyes. "I'm right here, Henry. Let's finish this." Brandon, now the Magna Ranger, unleashed his newfound powers, driving back the Buckaloids. "We need to protect the base," he shouted. The Predator Ranger, seeing her forces being overwhelmed, decided to change tactics. She focused on Chip, her eyes filled with malice. "You're strong, Red Ranger, but you have no idea what you're up against." With a swift movement, she disarmed Chip, sending his savage sabers flying. Chip stumbled back, but before he could react, the Predator Ranger lunged forward, pinning him against a rock. "Your time is up," she hissed, raising her weapon. But before she could strike, Brandon intervened, his magna powers blazing. "Leave him alone!" The Predator Ranger snarled and retreated, her eyes never leaving Chip. "This isn't over," she vowed, disappearing into the shadows. The Rangers regrouped, their breathing heavy but their spirits unbroken. "She's getting stronger," Alvin said, concern etched on his face. "We need to find out who she is and stop her." Back at the Megalozord command sub, the mood was tense. The battle had taken its toll, and the mystery of the Predator Ranger weighed heavily on their minds. As the team debriefed, Monica couldn't shake the feeling that there was something familiar about the Predator Ranger. She glanced at Chip, who seemed equally troubled. Later, as Chip was alone in the training room, Monica approached him. "Chip, there's something we need to talk about." Chip looked up, his expression serious. "What is it?" Monica hesitated, then took a deep breath. "I think the Predator Ranger might be someone from your past." Chip frowned. "What do you mean?" Monica bit her lip. "There's something about her fighting style, her movements. It's like she knows you." Chip's eyes widened in realization. "You think she could be?" Before he could finish, the alarm sounded again. "Rangers, we have an incoming transmission from the Predator Ranger," Henry announced. The team rushed to the control room, where the Predator Ranger's image flickered on the screen. "I have a message for the Red Ranger," she said, her voice cold and calculated. "Meet me at the old shipwreck in 1 hour. Come alone, or your friends will pay the price." The transmission ended, leaving the team in stunned silence. "It's a trap," Alvin said. Chip nodded. "I know, but I have to go." Monica stepped forward. "You're not going alone. We'll be there, watching your back." Chip managed a small smile. "Thanks, Monica. Let's end this." Chip arrived at the old shipwreck, his heart pounding with anticipation. He glanced around, his senses on high alert. "I'm here," he called out. The Predator Ranger emerged from the shadows, her weapon glinting menacingly. "So, you came." Chip stood his ground. "Why are you doing this? What do you want?" The Predator Ranger hesitated for a moment, then slowly removed her helmet, revealing a familiar face. "Because I'm your sister, Chip." Chip's eyes widened in shock and disbelief. "No, it can't be." Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Power Rangers Shark Attack. The Rangers face new threats and discover new allies, but their journey is far from over. Join us next time as they continue to protect the ocean from the forces of evil. Until then, keep riding the riptide.